What you think of as your own ideas is not yours. Your excuses are not yours. Johnny made me do it is in Chinese the same way, same devil. He speaks a different language. And so that when you doubt, you trust your doubt. But that's called faith. You've got faith upside down. Whenever anybody doubts, then you trust the doubt, and then the doubt controls you, as if it was faith. You believe in it. See? Now, if you had that space between you and God, you'd see doubt for what it is. Oh, I can see doubt. Where does it come from? It is an upside-down faith, and it's talking to you. See? It talks to you and talks you out of faith. Good morning, or good afternoon, or good evening, depending on what time of day you are watching Sunday Morning Conversations, and we do converse, because I'm not a preacher. I don't want to be one. I want to be your friend, and I don't want you caught up with me. I don't want you to have a too close a relationship with me where you become addicted to codependency on your preacher. That's what happens, and you're done. You like your preacher too much. You'll never learn. You will learn everything, but you won't understand anything. You'll be a machine. That's what's wrong with the country. That's one of the. This is worse than drug addiction. Get caught up with your preacher. He stands by, shakes your hand, makes you feel better for a week. Well, it gets worse as the week goes by, and then you have to come to church again. I don't want you to belong to me. You come out of free will. You support me from free will. I don't want to know who it is. I don't look, except when I send thank you notes to people. That's all. I'm just an ordinary guy with extraordinary ideas. But you see what I mean? Everybody has their talent. My talent is to put into words what you cannot, and transfer them or translate them into, wow, I never saw that before. You get better. I am a mechanic. I show you the machinery of your mind. I'm working on the machinery of gravity now, right to the very, very beginning. I work from what we got backwards, and I discover as I go backwards what the beginning is like, and it's taking me a month to write 1, 2, 3 lines, and then I'm not happy with it. It's so simple you can't hardly explain it. And it's the same thing with truth. I can find the words, and they're all in the Bible. Every one of them. But since you have been to church lightly and tried your own self to read, you are conditioned to read and learn what you read and remember it and play it back with your mouth and your intellect, but not with your soul. So I would like you to listen to me in such a way that you don't even try to remember anything or figure anything out. You either understand it just like that. Oh, I never saw that before. If you put effort into remembering what I say, I cannot help you. You already have what you need. You were born with it. You just had it stolen from you by the imprint of your, excuse the expression, stupid parents. Stupefied parents. They're not stupid, they were also born with stupefied parents. Oh, we don't talk about that age because they were born with stupefied parents. Oh, you go all the way back to Adam and Eve. And every woman is an Eve, a manipulating witch. And every man is a manipulated son of a bitch. And that's why I'm sorry to use that language, but nobody escapes, including me. In other words, it's inherited. Sin is inherited. Your stupidity, your lostness, if that's the word, your inability to solve your problem comes into play the minute a man meets a woman. It's all over. You call that falling in love. I say it's calling from what's love. You fall from what love is all about. The minute you fall in love with a person, your life is over. You've got nothing but misery and suffering because you're loving the wrong person first. You need to find the love of God first, but you don't know that. You think you've got God when you go to church, and you haven't. Now, it's nice to have all the verses and chapters. I don't know all the verses and chapters. I haven't read a Bible in 2 years. It's all there. You know, I find the words coming out, they get very close to what the words are there. So I've stopped reading, and every now and then somebody quotes a Bible verse and says, oh, that fits. But I knew that before he said it. It was in me. The Bible is inside you. It's all there. It's not a Bible, it's not a book. Your soul is a book of life, or your consciousness, or your subconscious. Maybe the brain itself is the book, and you have memories. And so how do you remember in a way that isn't obtuse to what it should be? It happens as I speak to you this way. It happens, I see that, but you've seen it in the Bible before. But somehow, because of where I'm coming from, if you'll forgive me, I don't want to make myself special, but you are just as special as I am. I just want to talk to you, to that which is special in you, to return you to that special, that makes you special. There's something inside you that makes you special. You become a child of God. Only takes a fraction of a second, a little bit at a time. Become perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. There it is. See, I haven't read that for a long time, but I know that. So everybody says, you can't be perfect. I says to preachers I speak to, I don't speak to them anymore, they're crazy. I mean, they're just mechanical. And everybody goes to them every week only because they get programmed every week. You don't have to come here every week unless you want to. I like to have you here. I like my audience that they see me on TV and on video every Sunday and all the week. But I want it to be voluntary. You see, I want you to come because, well, we share. And I can share with you if you're open. If you're closed, you have problems. And the reason why you have problems is because you've lost your way. And that's not a sin. You've never sinned in your life. Never. You were born to be perfect. You were born innocent. But the imprint of the culture, whether it's a zombie culture, whether it's cannibal culture, whether it's English culture, I'd say, oh boy, pip pip, and all that sort of stuff. That's English culture. So you'll go around saying pip pip or boss. It's all right, that language. The culture's fine, you know. One of the things I said to a young man one day, and I'll get back to my point, he comes in, got a serious problem. I said, "What, you know what's wrong with you?" "No, you're a Mexican." "What the hell you mean by that?" When you pass, the music stimulates your identity. Get rid of the music. You can like the music, but don't get into it. Don't become codependent on it. Don't let it give you a feeling. I like Mozart. I like all good music. It's beautiful. Schubert's Serenade. I don't spend any money on it. If I hear it once in a while, that's pretty. I like that. But not codependent. I don't have to hear it every day. I don't have to have records. I don't need it. Because you need anything, you're codependent on it. I love everything about everything, but if I spend my time with music, I'm missing out on something else. Music is really meaningless, but it's nice. Okay? And ice cream is nice. But then if you look carefully, you've got diabetes, you better not eat it. But the trouble is, look at the people. They eat ice cream when they shouldn't, because they got diabetes. They just like it too much. Codependent, then they die from it. They have a shock. What do they call it? Diabetic, yeah, like I was into. And it's horrible. But that's not my fault, the case. They gave it to me in the hospital and I couldn't eat anything. And I said, don't make sure there's no sugar in it. They should have known that. I've been there before. And then that's another story. I won't bother with you. What I want to set the stage of making sure that any one of you who likes me too much, yes, you can think of me as Grandpa. See? Okay, I'm a Grandpa. That's not so bad. And you like Grandpa. He's cool. That's it. You can't, he's the greatest person in the world. No, I'm not. I have a talent, and you have talents. I need something done, and you have skills. But this is a whole different realm. You can have those skills. Let me explain to you. I just got a car for a present for my anniversary. It's a Jaguar, and it looks so brand new. But I don't run out and buy fancy cars. You'll see that fancy car and you think, oh, Roy Masters could spend a lot of money on that car. It's an $88,000 car. I don't know, I think it was about $5,000, whoever bought it for me. See, it was a gift. But you would look at that and then make a judgment. See? And so you should know me better than me. I drive second-hand cars. One reason is I won't do that because then you think I'm spending the foundation's money. And I'm not. I just get a salary sometimes. Not. Okay? Because business is so bad. Americans are so thick in the head. I didn't mean to talk about this, but I am getting into something. So when I came to America, people could hear me. But nearly every American is on some kind of dope. Not all, but so many of you can't hear me. Because you are addicted, codependent on your doctor and the dopey doctor, the one that dopes you, think he's going to cure you. Yes, doctor. Anything you say, doctor. Right now, doctors are going to kill you. All of us, it's a whole new pack of doctors, and the good ones are leaving. Do you understand that? So you still have a relationship with doctor. I would say, you've got to be very careful of yourself. You have to be very careful that you're not codependent and like something too much. People, places, and things. And me. You're my friend, I'm your friend. I'm not your friend. See that? And you're a friend if you're too close to me. I keep a distance, even between my wife and me. That's how I survive.
All right, now.
just, it's true. You even have to put a space between your husband and your wife. Now, that doesn't mean to say, oh, I'm not going to talk with you. No, see, it's a spiritual space. Because if you're codependent, you're getting something from a person that will kill you, make you dependent on their approval, and you will do anything for that. Once you accept their praise, no money involved. It's worse if you get money. It's worse if they give you something. You could add to that. But the minute somebody likes you and you see that this is a personality, they're famous, oh, how do you do, Your Majesty? See, it doesn't have to be in a majesty. It's somebody that likes you. And you like them back. Isn't he wonderful? No, you're stupid. Now, nobody ever speaks to you this way, am I right? Have you ever heard a lecture like this before? You've got to watch out for the inspirational speaker. He'll lift you up right away from common sense. You think you've got something and he's got you every week. And they get very rich. Because you think you've got something and you want more. And the more you get, the more you want it. Then you begin to hate him. Because after a while, things are getting worse. But you feel better when you go. And you pay him to make you feel better. That's codependency. If you're married and your wife is out of order and she gives you sex, he said, screw the sex, you go to hell. You're not going to buy that car, if you know what I mean. Now let me tell you this. Women are descendants of Eve. And every single one of them is a bitch. Excuse the expression. I'm going to be very direct. They cannot help themselves. They're born, and it comes through mother. And it slides into them. Men are sons of bitches. They cannot help but be born by the woman who carries the taint of hell when paradise was lost. There is no exception. They are all like that. And so if you fall into love, you are being seduced. And if you're not falling in love, see, then you either way you have a problem on your hands. You fall in love, and you fall from what love is all about. And love is having first, before you marry, this is the ideal, before you marry, you better find God. Because you cannot be a man without him. And if you haven't found him, but therefore there's the emptiness. And the emptiness comes from being born from a woman, and you're addicted to mama. And father's weak, so you can't be saved because you have fallen from what love is all about. Therefore, you're weak before your lover. Your lover is your wife, and she needs a kick in the ass, spiritually speaking. See. Forgive me, I'm not your typical preacher. I shall use words a little differently. So there has to come a time when you're married, she's going to start to take advantage of the fact that you love her. and then she gets high. When you love somebody, they get high, and you're actually giving power and enabling that woman. She may like it at first, but what she doesn't know, that she is the extension of Beelzebub, and she doesn't know it. Hundreds and thousands of generations, they're all the same. And the good woman recognizes they want to find a good man. And in America today, you can hardly find one because they're brought up as women. And the women are brought up as men, bossy. And some religions are like that. Jewish religion is very similar. What is the one in Salt Lake? Was that Mormon are like that. They have to agree. They have to agree. There's nobody in the home that is authority. In my home, I'm the authority, whether you like it or not. But I'm not brutal. I'm the authority, and you're not going to get away with it. And my kids are not going to get away with anything because they tend to be the extension of their mother. And I better not be the extension of my mother, otherwise I can't deal with my wife. Who's following me? And any lady wants to kick my butt?
I'll do it later.
Yeah. That's
So far, you're right on.
That's right. And so I've been married 63 years, and that's why she knows. If it wasn't for the fact that I was a man, she would have been dead a long time ago, or married to somebody else, and they would have killed her. Or she would have killed them and drove them to the madhouse. Just continuation. You will give your life to the person you like and love too much. That's what's the matter with you. Have you ever heard people say, I love too much, that's what's the matter with me? And they still don't know what they're talking about. Is that enough? You can go home now. But who's got it? Do you know what I mean by putting a space? See, you don't think I put a space between... Look, I know my friend here. What's your name again? Chuck. See? No, I have a space between him. He has a space between me. I love him. But I love him with a good love. I'm afraid to say I love his wife. He gets jealous.
But it works that way.
It works that way.
When you, it's not so much you put a space, it's that there is a
it's
space.
Like a space.
Because it's somehow you're held, it's just like there's a space between you and your thoughts. And it's not, you didn't make it. It's just sort of visited upon you and separates you just enough that you can see your thoughts from a place of watching. It's the same way with everybody that you meet. Even though there's a friendship maybe with somebody.
It's not a friendship.
There's this little bit of a space that when you slip too far into that. I had something happen to me last night I think it's fascinating. And I woke up this morning thinking about it. One of my cousins was visiting, and his little son, who was about 6 years old, very precocious little boy, was there. And they were working on a puzzle, putting the pieces of a puzzle out, and so I was helping him put a couple of pieces together, and the little boy starts putting a violently blue piece right next into white pieces, which obviously doesn't go. And he's a bright kid, and I noticed he was doing that. I said, "Wait, that doesn't belong here." And then 2 minutes later, he's doing the same thing again. And I said, "Why are you putting a piece that you know doesn't belong there?" And there was, I didn't realize then, but it was like he was tempting me to say, "Oh no, that's not the right piece," because he knew it wasn't the right piece.
Yes.
He was tempting me.
Yes.
And a little bit later in the evening,
you find lots of things.
because he was always trying to get my attention, which is
Yeah.
fine, and I give him my attention, and
I
we talk.
understand that.
But then it's like if I'm talking to his dad, then he wants my attention away from his dad, and before you know it, he settles in with somebody else in the room, a woman, and he gets her attention.
He gets what?
He gets her attention,
Yeah.
and she gives him the attention she gives him so that he doesn't have to fight to get attention. But what I realized was it was making him more of a woman. because he was finding sympathy with this.
Somebody actually showed him how to put it there nice and easy, so he didn't have to think.
Well, not even that. It was just someone who would sympathize with his great, oh, well, you know, instead of saying, wait a second, wait a second, that doesn't belong there, you know that.
Yeah.
And I wasn't being mean to him, it was just that I was just saying, this is white and, you know, and everyone else wants to say, well, he doesn't understand.
It's very small, but very important.
And it's the giving in that's good, because I was talking to his dad about the friends that his dad had when he was a boy, because he was showing me pictures of me when he was a little boy, younger than his son, sitting next to me on the floor. Because when I would go visit, all the adults would sit in the chairs, and I would sit on the floor with the kids. When I was an adult, I just did it. So I was talking to his father about the friends he grew up with who are now men in their 30s and how they're all screwed up.
Yep.
And one has become gay, and one is married a woman, but he's...
You don't say.
Yeah. And one is married a woman, and he's like, the woman's strange, and he's strange. And they say, what happened to these people? And I know his parents. And it's what happens is the boy got alienated from his dad for whatever reason, and he went to his mom and got sympathy, and he got her nature, parts of her nature in him.
Yeah,
and it comes out in all different forms.
Exactly.
The one boy married, has a great big family, but he married a crazy woman, beautiful crazy woman, and now he's got beautiful daughters who look like they're going to grow up to be crazy because he still hasn't learned how to deal with it.
There's your the lineage. Yeah. There's the lineage. You can't help it. But to make it simple, is meditation changes the relationship you have with the world and the things that give you pleasure and enable you. So it's not something you can do and put a space and try to think in terms of space, because it's not a space that we understand about. So we have time and space. My body lives in time and space, but my consciousness doesn't. It's always now. There is no time. What time is it? Oh. So, see, there's no time where I am. All of a sudden I wake up, oh, I'm 78. Right? Or 77. Where did that go? Where did the time go? I just wake up that time. I wake up 100, and then I wake up dead. Where am I? I'm the place that I was becoming while I was here on this earth. By keeping it, because if God loves me, and I express myself, and I express Him and not myself, or what I think of myself, which is of the world, right? If you see what I mean. What you think of as your own ideas is not yours. Your excuses are not yours. Johnny made me do it is in Chinese the same way, same devil. He speaks a different language. And so that when you doubt, you trust your doubt, but that's called faith. You've got faith upside down. Whenever anybody doubts, then you trust the doubt, and then the doubt controls you, as if it was faith. You believe in it. See? Now, if you had that space between you and God, you'd see doubt for what it is. You can hear the voice talk to you, basically, sometimes. You can say, oh, I can see doubt. Where does it come from? It is an upside-down faith, and it's talking to you. See? It talks to you and talks you out of faith. It's so powerful.
Right. Okay.
Go fly a kite in a thunderstorm.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, that's what I go through daily.
That's what it is. You can tell it. It pulls on you. But God doesn't pull on you. He actually, but as you leave Him behind, there's anxiety. Because the space between you, as it increases the longing for whatever it is you're being taken from. And then you think of the anxiety as a disease. And then you want something to fix it, and you go to the pusher, or you go to the doctor. They're no different. I'm not so sure it's safer to be get the doctor anymore, because they're all, the good ones are leaving, and the ones that have no moral genes will kill you. See? So I suggest that the closest thing you could do is make sure that your doctor is a very good conservative doctor. Never go near a person who's a liberal. It's not the same as it was when President Reagan was shot. And the first thing he said was, well, I hope the doctors are conservative. And in those days, things were different. The liberal doctor, what is the other party? Democrat. He says, I hope it's a Republican. And the doctor says, we're all Republicans here today, doctor. That's the difference. That was the difference in those days. It's not now. You cannot trust. The chances are there's still one or two available that thinks that way. Don't worry, Mr. President, we're all Republicans here today. And they weren't, of course, but they were good doctors. It didn't matter what party they belonged to. I'm saying this because it's very important, because the people in the hospitals are Marxists. The good ones are leaving, and the Marxists are taking their place in the schools, and they're turning them out, so that they grow up to be thinking they're Marxists, thinking they're Americans because they're born here, so they think that Marxism is American. It's so simple programming, see. So you have to deal with people like that. I can deal with them. I just look out for them every day. Oh, there's one. I'll get it, so to speak. I'm just saying, I'm just putting my evil side to show you I'm not perfect. But see, I see these things and I want to warn you about it. And I want to warn you about doubt, because it's upside down faith.
Roy, also, what came to me when we were talking about doubt,
Yes.
even on my own, I was thinking, of what use is doubt?
No, there's no use to it.
But
But you think of it as faith, and you think it's going to bring you somewhere. You trust. When you trust and put your faith in doubt, let me just see if I can pass this. I mean, not pass it, but examine it. That if I could find words, I think I can find some words between faith and trust. It's just a noise, When I say faith is a noise, so I got to give it a meaning. If you have the wrong meaning, you go crazy. See? So I will say that doubt is upside down faith. And so if you see that faith is reserved for God, that's it. It's what joins you with Him. If that faith is seduced, then it immediately serves that which hates God, and that's the devil. Now, you can call it what you like, but there is evil in the world, wouldn't you agree? Now, everybody now agrees there's such a thing, but there are people who don't think that way. They think that good is evil because it burns. And an innocent child burns them. The very presence of an innocent child, they'll chop their heads off. That's how low they can sink. So what you have in this world is varying degrees of evil. So in this room, there's varying degrees of evil, but it's just a sickness and you're struggling with it and you don't want to be that way. Am I correct? So you are struggling with ego. But if you struggle, you're trying to save yourself. And as you save yourself, you sink more quickly in the swamp. And when you try to fix what you broke, Now, of course, the swap is just an analogy. So when you act or react to the doubt, and doubt what you know is right, because always the truth comes first. You'll always get an inkling of what it is true. The tendency that doubt has a hold on you, and therefore you need to be saved. Because it has a hold on you that you cannot fix. You cannot fix your own problems. There's no such thing. You are, even though you are innocent and you come into the family and they broke you, you cannot fix it, but you can still have a spirit that says, what's life all about? I don't like this. Follow? But still, you got this pull. And then you go to all the churches and you do the la-di-da, the music and the, wherever you go, you try to get as much Christianity, which is a very good concept. As a religion, it doesn't work. Jesus did not make a religion. He came to save you from religions. All he wants to do is to show you how to be, or to remind you of what you've forgotten. So the Jesus and me remind you of forgotten, and you say, oh, because the dark side of you keeps you confused about everything. And so as I talk to you this way, now you may say, well, this guy, Roy Master, is crazy. There's no such thing as the devil. Yes, there is. It's in everybody. It's in you. Everybody's possessed by it. There's not a person who isn't. So if you have a nice, comely face and nice behavior, that doesn't mean to say you don't have a devil in you. Something that will get you if you get too close to them. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, we're talking about doubt. I doubt everything I do and say. You're talking about it, and I feel like I'm just going to have a heart attack inside. Because
why did you come and sit in the front with me? Yes, be
I don't
nice.
want to be on TV.
Yeah, come and sit in the front. There you are. Because I know you've got a lot to say.
I do.
Okay.
You're talking about doubt, and my heart is just racing. Because I have to make all the decisions. It's like I make the decisions, I feel comfortable, but after I've done it, I start worrying and worrying and worrying to the point where I start crying.
That's doubt.
It is. And
So because you're a woman that has to make the decision, are you married?
No.
Well, then you have to make those decisions. But you, as a woman, let me relieve you. As a woman,
I want to fade.
no, don't worry, because women are savable without a husband. You have a Jesus. Your husband doesn't matter. Mm-hmm. See, when you have a husband and it's good, then you listen to him because he represents him. And then you see, can you understand what I'm talking about? Of course. So therefore, I can be your husband-like person, right?
Yeah.
Now, I'm just a man, but I have what your husband didn't have.
Yes,
that's
true.
Why you got divorced, right?
Yes.
Okay.
He had nothing to say about nothing. I just can't stand men that are like that. Yeah. Nothing to say about nothing.
And you hate him for it because you want him to correct you.
If my son did something, I wanted him to say, look, this is not right. I can't stand men like that.
But you're a decent woman. See, you're not that kind of biatch I was talking about. I'm saying that it's in you. It's in you to recognize a man when he's got it. So I suggest to all my audience, you young ladies and you men, that you take a strong stand with your wife. Now, she's going to give you a fit because you've already enabled her so far. And to the degree that you've enabled her to enable her, then to that degree she will resist you with greater force. And then you have to have a greater force not to react. Because all that dark side wants in her is to get him angry and to say, hit me, hit me. Who understands what I'm talking about? How many ladies? You ever felt that feeling? Hit me, hit me.
And then she calls the cop.
And then she calls the cop, right. See? So, and then you finish with your marriage.
Yeah.
So she's tempting you to break down. She's tempting you to run off with another woman. But deep down inside, if she's good, if there's a goodness, she is unhappy about it. Like you. You could not help yourself but be Eve. The only cure is there's a man that doesn't respond to Eve and says, put the fruit down, you cannot do that, you cannot spend our money that way. It's not your money, I earn the money, you don't. You bring up the kids, I will correct the kids, that's not your job. If, you see, show respect for me, but she has to be respectable. And if he's not respectable or make a mistake, then the good in you say, excuse me, husband, but did you really mean this? He'll say no, if he's a good man, because men make mistakes, right?
Yes.
Okay, so a good woman knows and recognizes the good in a man. But if you hate your father, then you've lost the father you cannot see, and all of a sudden you don't have the wisdom to see what a good man is. You begin to need a father. You see, but unconsciously you've lost the pattern, the design of what a man is. The schematic is gone.
Yes.
See, and therefore he looks like a good man, but you're deceived. See, and so you could be deceived because your nature is to deceive yourself, to be lost. So that as a woman, I would recommend you meditate, sit quietly, find the father, drop the anger towards the father that was weak for you, drop the anger towards the father that was your husband.
Yes.
And all of a sudden, something magical happens. You have a male child?
I have two.
Okay. How old are they?
44 and 38.
Are they screwed up?
Yeah, I say they are.
Yeah?
Not a lot, but they are. But still, they've listened to you, the oldest, since he was 3 years old.
Ah, that's not bad. So they may not listen. My wife took 63 years to figure it out. She kept on trying to figure it out. That's why she couldn't get it. She thinks she could figure everything out. The ego thinks you can figure everything out. No, you can't. You can't figure anything out.
When my son used to see little kids crying and acting up, he would tell them, meditate and the truth will set you free. Listen to Roy Masters. He used to say that.
So, look, I don't think how old are you now?
70.
You are? You look much younger. Does she look 70? You must be living a good life.
I guess.
Yes. I think you're a nice lady. I think that's very nice that you've got two nice young men. So, I don't know. The only thing you need to do is perhaps consult with your sons. See, I was going to say, if your son is 3 years old, consult with him. Because
he's not 3 years old, he's 45.
I know. Excuse me. I know that. But let's say he's 3 or 5 years old. A 5-year-old boy has more brains than a 50-year-old man who's screwed up and is addicted to women. In other words, he has it already. And it's the same thing with a little girl. I am a mentor to a little girl. So her name is Baggy. I'm going to have her on my radio program sometime. I can have a conversation with her as if she was 500 years old. And so she's so clear, and I listen. And she says, Grandpa, my mother introduced me to a church of people who talk about Jesus and religion. I feel uncomfortable there. Okay, so what do I do about that? I said, I think you're right. They have all the words and not the music. You know what I mean by that? Yes, Grandpa. They're just words, and they just don't know what they're talking about. And you can see they don't know what they're talking about. So you're correct. They do not understand. They're just teaching you words and make you a mechanical machine. She says, that's right, Grandpa, I see that. I said, you tell your mother for me, because I know her, please don't let me go to these people again. He says, well, my father wants me to go. I said, you know how to speak up to your father, don't you? He says, yes, Grandpa, I can speak up to my father. And she does so. And the problem's over. She won't go. She literally said, she'll frustrate the life out of the father because she doesn't get upset. You can't upset her.
But
See?
I've been listening. I mean,
But she gets control over Dad. She gets control over the father gets angry. She doesn't. And you see what happens when you don't get angry, and people get angry to make you do something, to make you see something that is not proper.
I think that's what it is. I get angry and I tell them off, and then after I go inside and I start to cry, I think to myself, God, they got me where they wanted me.
No, I don't
got
know
all
if
angry, and they look real. They looked like they were perfect, and I looked like the fool. And I've listened to you. Well, I had stopped for a long time, and I didn't want to come anymore. I didn't want to come here because I was embarrassed of so many years since about 1970, which I did change my life for a long time, and all of a sudden, I just fell back and.
Well, it seems like I have a grandson. He's 6 years old. His name is Reagan, well named. And he has a difficult mother, one of my grandchildren. See, one of my grandkids. He's a great-grandson. And she introduced him to the meditation maybe 2 years ago, 3 years ago. And there's been a lot of fight and an argument with her husband, who's difficult, a very dangerous person. And the child was put up for adoption, and they molested him. See, but that didn't bother him a bit. He said, "Why? Look, I'm gonna say something a little bit rude. Why did somebody want to suck on my pee-pee, my grandpapa?" See, but she would talk to him, and it goes away. It goes away. And so, this is, the system takes them away from one and puts them in another, and that's what happens. 5 years, then she gets the child back. The child's been meditating. It hasn't fazed him. Hasn't fazed him. And when mother is not in her right mind sometimes, and sometimes she isn't, she's not a bad woman, but she's had some terrible problems in her life. But she lives alone with the child. And so whenever she gets a little out of order, that little boy says, do the hand meditation. Get over it. That comes out of a 5-year-old. Consult, ladies, if you don't have a husband, do not try to bring up a kid. He knows more than you. The male child knows more than most 50-year-old men. And that little girl, because I'm her grandpa, I'm not really her grandpa. It's a long story. I know the mother, I know the grandmother, and all the rest of it. This is the one I sometimes quote on the air. And that was another thing that's happened just recently about she goes to people where they don't know what they're talking about. And the average person goes to church and doesn't know what they're talking about. All they got is words. All they got is words, and they try to figure out what those words mean and act out love that isn't love. And it's an act, and the kids can see it. And you need to become as a little child. You need to become like that. You don't look as a child, oh, isn't he cute? No, he's not. He's smarter than you are. Every child is smarter than anybody in this room, including me. because it's so pure. It's just it's unfolding like a flower. Not every child, because lots of children are ruined. But every now and then you get one that somehow has a grandpa like me. That's why she calls me grandpa. And the mother loves me because she was molested by the stepfather of her mother. See, and so she always puts on the phone to me, and I'm going to have her on the air. I'm going to do a show with her one of these days. But I don't have a guest mic yet. As soon as I get a guest mic, I'm going to put her on, and we'll have a nice conversation, and you'll see that she knows everything that needs to be known, and never having read the Bible. And that is how you have to live your life. Otherwise, you're short of it. And if you're short of it, you're dead. But if you find it, you'll come to life again. You'll put that little space between you and authority. There is no authority. How dare you call a person authority? The president is not an authority. He's doing a job. He works for me. So you don't have to kneel before him. You didn't give him any power. You hired him. Why don't you look at it that way? And since you hired him and he's no good, now you hate him. And that adds to your problem. Don't hate that son of a bitch. That's what he is. Don't hate him. That's what he wants you to do. All you do is make you more confounded and more afraid to speak up. And what are you afraid to speak up? Because you've been programmed to what they call it, political correctness. Nothing correct about political correctness. Nothing. I'm not politically correct. I just called him a son of a bitch. Did I not? That's what he is. That's what most of you are, aren't you? Because you never had a father. But you do have a father, and because of that spark, you have the Father in heaven, and automatically that space exists. The minute you find yourself moving as that little child, moving and having your being thoughtful, and not figuring out everything as you go along, figuring it out, making messes and figuring that out. Okay? The minute you know that of yourself you could do nothing, just Jesus said the same thing. There it is there. Of myself I can do nothing. I hear the preacher saying it's not true. Become perfect as your Father in heaven is perfect. They say 1 minute they're saying the Bible is absolutely true. It's a wonderful book. It's a wonderful book. Everybody should read it. Not that you could ever swallow everything that was there, but it's a history book. It also has principles in it. Then you get to this New Testament, and then you got the trail of little words that could lead you to something. But unless you know what those little words mean, nowhere. If you put them to memory, it's only just a mechanical memory. Mary had a little lamb, his fleece was black of soot. That's about it. It goes to that level. I don't know if that makes the point. It doesn't have meaning. But what I'm saying to you is does it not awaken you? Does it not make, don't you, I see that. In your mind, I see it. Don't try to remember what you see. You saw it. That's good enough. And you accepted it. That's good enough. You don't have to keep thinking about it. It will produce its own evolution of thought. See, I have not planned to speak to you about anything at all. I sit down here and I talk with you. And you talk with me. Please God, you do. I don't mean to be talking all the time. I would like anybody to say anything they want. And maybe is there anybody here that actually saw something they never saw before today. Is there one person? None? Let's try one. Would you mind standing? Thank you.
I think I really understood what you were talking about, that space between people, and how I've been jealous of that space, you know, and...
How do you mean jealous?
Jealous, like, especially when it comes to a man, you know, that a man would not let me into that space. You know, my father, my ex-husband.
But you don't want to be into anyone's space.
No, I understand. Now I understand that. And so, yeah.
He has to be in a space that talks to you in such a way that you find yourself in that space, because he hasn't crossed that space to talk to you. That space, that physical space between you is almost like electromagnetic wave. It means you can't see it. It's sort of, you're not close to it like this. You're close to it, and an electrical charge passes.
But that's what women are trying. Women want to get into that.
They want to get into that space.
Yeah. And I had an experience
and they get
this
angry
week.
They make you mad to get into that space.
I had an experience this week with a lady that I know who, it was really nice that she was so forthcoming to call me to tell me about how she knows she sucks on people and she sees my reaction to it. And she opened up this whole conversation between us. And I saw, as you're talking, that's what, I didn't know how to defend myself against that.
Yeah.
You know, and I just see how important it is to just kind of stand there and watch it. And I was able to watch it, talking with her. And, yeah, so I guess that's all I have to say about it.
But when you're in this space and someone calls you a bad name and lies, it doesn't penetrate.
Yeah, that makes sense.
The space is in the way of the spoken word, but the space is open to intuition. See? You get the meaning of, you see where they're coming from, even if it's bad. You actually see what they think, what they are, and there's no judgment. You're safe. And they sense that you see, and they are scared. You frighten them. And that fright makes them run away, not to be your friend, good riddance to bad rubbish, or they try again to break that space so they can get into you. They try harder to upset you. And you still, the space is there, and it bars, it filters those words out so that they just look like talking furniture. They don't look like people anymore. It's just noise that comes out of their mouth. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't trigger any of your conditioning. Follow that, and your conditioning starts to disappear. Got that? Now this is lightning psychiatry. Psychiatry does not understand what I just said. A good psychiatrist might figure it, because I have friends, lots of them, and doctors and professors in universities who understand what I'm talking about, but not fully, because they give them the CD, and or give them the download or the 7-minute meditation. So they just give them that, but the person, it comes back in a couple of weeks. So this is what he says. He says, this particular one says, I have apothecary, I'll give you a prescription, and it's going to cost you a little bit, not much, and here's the medication you need. See me in 2 weeks, but you listen to that twice a day. Promise? Yes. If you don't, I won't write the prescription. So the first experience he had was a man had severe heart problems and others. And he was taking lots of medication. And he comes to the doctor and says, Doctor, what have you done to me? He says, my heart problem's gone. He said, it was gone. He says, but not only that, but it's changed my life spiritually. Well, the doctor himself, when it first happened, was flabbergasted. But it works 9 out of 10 people when it's done that way. He uses medication, and the medication falls away. That's the way it's supposed to be. So, any other discussions? Everybody understand this? Yes, you almost had a question. Would you mind standing?
Oh.
Thank you.
I think when you're talking about getting, like people who get into other people's spaces too much, they're trying to suck something out of them.
It's life force.
Yeah, and it's sort of a perverted relationship that you're supposed to have with God. You know,
That's
you should
correct.
get into God's space, but it's painful to be there if you're a messed up person. So you go around doing it to people.
No, you need to give something of your life in order to be loved. Order for peace, and there is no peace because you're dealing with a vampire or someone you're changing into a vampire by allowing him to drink from you, if you see what I'm saying. So you don't want to be an appeaser. In a manner of speaking, what you have to be is a fighter, a God's warrior. And God's warrior cannot be defeated, no matter how much they try. I want this to be a nation of people like this. But you all got the wrong kind of churches, and you got the wrong kind of synagogues. And you have the wrong kind of goodness. Now, goodness is better than badness, correct? But goodness has a weakness. And it is not sufficient to defeat the enemy of badness. Do you see that? It's a nice, good behavior. What more would you want? Thoughtful, kind, to too many people. See, there's always an overdose of everything, or an underdose, because you get a little afraid, but you still want to do nice things. But there's always that sticky thing that goes with it, and the frustration that they don't appreciate what you've done because look what you've done, and now they've betrayed you and don't say thank you, or are not appreciative enough to give you a lift for your goodness, which is only a codependency for you to be more good. See? So, you see how I've lived this long? I mean, 3 attempts to murder me in hospital. I mean, real attempts. The first attempt was, you know about my swimming in the ocean, and you know about that. And that lasted 4 years, so I got very sick. I was in the hands of the doctors, and they gave me operations after operations, and they really messed me up. They took a big artery, not an artery, vein. Yeah, I get them mixed up. A vein, all the way from my waist to my leg, and took little pieces and put it in my heart. It was only designed to last a few years. And it fails. It was designed to fail. That is murder one. Because if they took the mammary gland here, the man have mammary gland just like women. They're not going to miss it. Oh, I don't know why we got those little titties. I have no idea why they're there. It just doesn't make it easy. But it's there. If it had given that, it would have lasted. But God was with me. I grew new arteries, brand new. That was 17 years ago. So I survived it. God was watching. He made them grow. And they said, well, it happens sometimes. Why does it happen? Because who I am. See? It's how I deal with life. I don't fear. I trust. I know everything's going to be all right no matter how it is. But on the same day of that operation, so we haven't got that far to manufacture my body to 3 years later, have these new arteries, which I have now. My blood pressure is 110/60. Go figure it. Athlete, even now. I'm stronger in many ways, for everything. So the nurse wanted to kill me because I'm a cult leader. That's how it works in this town, right? And so I couldn't breathe. I'm in the what's the room they put you in when they
ICU?
when they take you out of the hospital to recover. My son comes running in, Alan. He runs intuitively, running in. For what reason? He's moved. God moves him. And he sees me trying to write something with my hand because I couldn't speak. Something was down my throat. You know what that is. So I'm just coming to. And he says, my father wants a piece of paper to write on something. And the nurse says, oh, he's just twitching. They all do that. And she would not give him the paper and pencil. He says, if you do not give him the pencil and paper, I will scream bloody murder and call 911. And he made a big show out of it. An orderly came and said, what's going on? And he went up to the doctor. The doctor came down. That was 17 years ago. There was a real doctor. And he says, who set the breathing apparatus? She says, I do. He says, this is set for a much smaller person. So I would have been brain dead. But intuition comes to the rescue. And it's the same thing just happened to me a little while ago. I was dying, no doctors. A nurse in the, where they put the IC room. I always forget the names of these. Yeah, because there's no doctors there, there's just nurses. Yeah. And I goes behind it. Recovery. So, but I was dying. And they heard me, the nurse heard me say, there was something in the jello. It was just sugar. See, that's what did it. And my son said, and she came forward. How long does it take to get insulin? 3 hours. Do you know what some is? And she says, yes. Okay? And she says, closes the curtains. Get it. She did it. She sacrificed her job to do that. Bang. Insulin. And then another one. That was it. Now, if I try to reward her, she'll lose her job. So it's got to go quiet. But look at the angel. That was the angel. I've always got something going for me. It's the sun, it's the angel, right?
Yes.
See? They're intuitive. My kids are intuitive. And so it's like, it's a signal. And it's a signal that touches other people. It's a signal that comes from me to you. So that you walk away, you're better. You got your shot. Intimate speaking, or your shock. See, wow, I'm awake now. Right? Can I go home now? It was a nice talk. Unless you have a question, I think we've covered it pretty well, haven't we? And just to talk for the sake of talking, you might as well enjoy yourself at Tall Timber Ranch.
We're going to have a little discussion group at 1 o'clock at Tall Timber Ranch, and if you want to carpool, meet at McDonald's south of town. On Red
How nice it is for you to get together and talk. See, and it's more freer than it is here because we're being televised.
You never finish a story about culture.
Well, culture is the prevailing influence. So if you're born in Hitler Germany, you don't have much of a chance to be who you're meant to be. It's so easy. You know, just as a finishing touch to not being caught up in a group of people or even a church, I don't like going to, I'm Jewish, I won't go to synagogue. I may go, if I had a business, I go. It's easy for you meet people. I'm a very private person. I like my friends, but I just like to sit and work. I like my grandkids to come around every now and then. I drop what I'm doing. I like to work on my thesis on how the universe began. I'm almost there. I've been going back, and I've actually discovered that gravity is something that you don't really know what it is. If you get a copy of my book, just the first paragraph or few pages, till you get to there's a diagram that proves that gravity is at work. It has momentum and has pressure, and you can utilize it and get energy from it if you saw it that way as a push. But now I've gone further. It wasn't enough. I got to know where gravity comes from. See, it's called extension. It means it goes forever and ever and ever, and if it has to stop, the minute it has to stop, it doesn't work anymore. It's dead. The whole thing collapses. It's flowing. See, it flows forever. Where's forever? Anyway, I don't want to go into that. The only thing is now, I've got it. I'm working 6 months on one paragraph. The beginning is so beautifully simple. It is hard to explain. You've got to find the right words for it. And every time I look at it, that's not it. But I have a whole bunch of other stuff. And once I get the right way to start it off, then I take little pieces here, pieces there, put it together. It maybe take me a year to do a page. But then I've got it. When you look at it, you can't miss it. See? So what is doing this to me? Again, it's my other skill. I've always wanted to be a doctor, and or a scientist. My father died, so I couldn't be either one. But I am a doctor. In a sense, I help you with the problems. I'm like a psychiatrist, but better, if I may say so. And also I'm a better scientist, because I'm Einsteinian, meaning I don't want to know what you already know. I don't want to know what your verses and chapters are. I don't need to know anything about what you do, all the math. It is theoretical. But I do learn some math and principles, like, for example, the only thing I needed to know to write a book, a whole book, Gravity-Driven Universe, with 300 pages, was what was plain common sense. And here it was. If you do not add force to an object, it cannot accelerate. Okay? That's all I needed to know. I needed to know only that. Well, that means if you put your car won't start if you don't put the pedal to the metal, right? So that's obvious. It's not a scientific theory, but they put it in science. It's the first law of motion, Isaac Newton. Well, that's science, but it's also common sense, right? All I needed was that. When I heard the moon was moving 4 centimeters away, I said that can't be, because the moon should be falling to the earth. Because if the moon is lifting the oceans, it has to be, the orbit had to decay. And so that's obvious. But the educated scientists actually think the moon is pulling up the oceans. You know how heavy a gallon of milk is? Yeah. It says pulling up the oceans, and it's moving away 4 centimeters a year. And that's a scientific fact. So I just needed that. There's momentum, so something is not kosher. Something is moving that. Something is lifting the oceans that shouldn't be lifting the oceans. That moon should have fallen into the ocean a long time ago. So if Superman would go round and round the earth, he'd fall also. If he's lifting up the oceans, he'd fall into the ocean too. So all I needed was that. And I made a whole theory. And it's flawless. But they're afraid of it. They're absolutely afraid of it because they all learn inside the box. The Christians think of I'm some kind of weirdo because they're outside the box with their mishigas. You know what the mishigas is? It's stupidity. Just mechanical. I'm so glad I'm not mechanical because there's people like myself and you that discover these things and put them together in a way the mechanical person cannot. They're very good mechanical, I get it. And there's lots of people who are not mechanical. That's why I got an iPhone. Who was it made the iPhone? He died, didn't he? Yeah, he died because he worked too hard. And he had a talent, but didn't glorify God with it. It's not the same. So the work gets done, but you have to pay for it with your life. If you don't give God the credit, you get in the way. Moses struck the rock when he was in the desert and they were out of water, and then he took the credit for having produced the water, and for that he wasn't allowed to go to the promised land. Remember that? So that's just a good hint. I do not take anything I say as being mine. I'm being shown these things, and I can put them together by being shown how to put them together. And when I read my work, I think I've got it, and I leave it alone, and I come back, oh, it's not there. I have to change a word here. I got it. No, it's not there. I do it. And this goes on for weeks and months. All of a sudden, it's there. Because the mind can't possibly do that. It's a monkey mind. And so it needs to be taught. It needs to have, it has to work at it. You see, and not get frustrated. Yeah, it needs to be and love it, giving it. See how it works. I'm just giving you an example of the creativity you've got. You have it. Each one of you are genius. Everyone, even you with the bald head.
Well, my brain works too much and it burns out my hair.
Yeah, the grass doesn't grow on a busy street.
There was a show on the Discovery Channel I saw it about 10 years ago, and it was this guy that predicted earthquakes. And he predicted the 89 earthquake almost to the day.
Yes.
And he worked for the Santa Clara Valley. They fired him. He went on to predict the earthquake that caused the Asian tsunami and the earthquake in Turkey. And he used, on the show, they showed how he did it. He used the orbit of the moon around the Earth and how it affected the continental shelves in the different orbits, as the moon.
And he wasn't a scientist.
He was. I don't know if he was or not. I don't remember that part, but I do remember he caught on to something that nobody had seen before.
But you see, you can have a scientist who also is intuitive.
Yeah.
They're rare.
Yeah.
But they're afraid to accept me because I'm outside the box. And that is a little bit embarrassing to them because what I discover is so simple. A mouse should be able to figure that one out. Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I enjoyed Did you get benefit from this today? You feel okay towards your kids?
Yes, I settled down.
You need to say to your kids, you know what? I tried to be a mother, and I thought when I was a mother that, I had to bring you up, and I didn't have the wisdom.
I told my older son that because when I talked to him with my older son, he always asked about you. He said, "You ever see Roy?" I go, "Yeah, I went to his meeting."
That's not nice.
Yeah,
just say it. He needs to come once in a while. Mm-hmm. Is he local?
No, he moved back to Los Angeles.
Oh, I see. All right. Well, he can listen to me on the radio or you can go to my website and listen to me live or on feedback, playback. All right. Well, it was nice to have you, and it's a little early, but sometimes 2 hours is a long time. Once I start, but you all, most of you are my friends, and we like to meet together, and I like Chuck Williams here. He is very valuable, and his wife too. And the Tall Timber Ranch is such a beautiful place. And I'd like for you to enjoy it. The secret, though, is that you don't seem to be angelic enough to bring other people in. There's got to be something about you that says to people, what people will say to you, how do you know all this? You say, well, I just go to a group of people, and you bring them in, but you don't tell them it's me. So we need to widen this. This is a Ku Klux Klan town, and I'm Jewish. I didn't have to change my religion to believe in Jesus because he's still Jewish. The last time I looked, I didn't peek at anything. I just know that everybody has that now. But the point is, he's still Jewish, isn't he? So how comes you call him a Christian? He says, well, I know, you should all know. There's neither Jew or Greek or keep not people from coming to me. I think he used a better word than that. Suffer not little children to come unto me, right? There it is right there. That's the exact words. See, everybody has that. He's just a person who transcends verses and chapters. Now you read the book, open your Bible, Adam and Eve is the first part you read, and that will explode on you. It did to me, because I talk a lot about that. And you go to, I want to give you, I don't carry these books anymore, but Lost Books of the Bible. They're available. And you read about Adam and Eve. It's the most beautiful. There's all different versions. That one's got it. That one's got it. All kinds of crazy stuff. That one is absolutely, you could see it's poetically beautiful. And when I read that 50 years ago, I built the whole thing on it. Redemption and all the rest of it. So you have suffered, and the suffering eventually is heard by my Creator. So what life is all about. I'm miserable, I get sick, and my kids are... And so if there's a cry, it's got to be something I'm here for. And he hears you, and then you listen to me on the radio, you switch it on, and I help you just over the last hurdle to the finish line. Right? Thank you very much. Support the program, ladies and gentlemen, otherwise I just can't do the program, that's all.